Don't think about cutting people, retrain them, develop them. They have institutional knowledge, they have value. So you're trying to build a business model, you need the right people with the right skills, and maybe you can create them. And they then will create the right processes.
Welcome to the Build to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth starts every single day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth in life so you can give more, all of it away for MVPs, the most vulnerable people. My name is Brett Swartz, and every episode we're joined by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires and billionaires, and they share their secrets, wisdom, and insights with us so we can all scale and level up our impact. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of Indiana. He is the author of The Profitable Entrepreneur. It's a practical and essential roadmap to grow and sustain your business. He has been a corporate CEO, highly successful startup entrepreneur, angel investor, consultant, and award-winning lecturer on entrepreneurship, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Mike Cassidy. Mike, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. Hope you're doing well too. Thanks for having me, Brett.
I am. Thank you so much. And for our listeners to get to know you for the first time, would you give us just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. Well, I got to writing my book based on, I'm sorry to say, but 50 years of investing in business entrepreneurship. I started, like many, right out of college with my business degree, and I started as cost accounting manager for a local manufacturing company that had its own line of consumer products. And I learned right away that that company, it had about 100 employees and 60 years old, and I found out, gosh, there's lots of dysfunction here. And as cost accounting manager, I found really where all the dysfunction was. But that company turned out to be a great opportunity for me. It was privately owned with an absentee owner who relied on the general manager. And so he and I kind of got together, and I'm the kind of person who just likes to stick my nose in where I see dysfunction and offer help. And I did that early, and I was doing a great job as a cost accounting manager, but I just saw all this dysfunction relating to that. So I just said, hey, how about we do what if, can we try, and so on and so on. And I ended up sticking my nose into every aspect of the business, helping to become, I learned how to be a creative problem solver from that opportunity. And I did that, and over time, I took over more and more, was promoted more and more. And after about 6.5 years, the owner just said, you know more about this company than anybody. Why don't you just run the thing? So I became CEO after 6 years, starting as cost accounting manager because of the opportunity I had. But I learned a lot: how to become a creative problem solver, how to work with people, how to lead teams, and the like. So from there, I did my first startup company, and I learned more hard lessons there. I realized I created a kind of a Me Too company, and the only way I could compete was on price. So I learned how to be much more strategic from that, and learned how to really create value for customers. I had a great team, and we grew fairly fast. We were growing about 30% a year. And we learned how to be a great team and be creative problem solvers for our customers. We found that that's really what customers need. And so did a great job, went from startup to really a leader of our industry niche. And after 17 years, my leadership team wanted to buy the company. So that provided the opportunity. Well, what am I going to do next? Well, of course, entrepreneurs who sell their company become consultants, right? So I did that. But at the same time, I had opportunity to join what was a uh, startup opportunity within Purdue University. They were creating a certificate in entrepreneurship and innovation. I spent 15 years there helping students learn not necessarily how to become entrepreneurs, but learn how to become the best employee that company's ever going to hire, because they learn how all about markets, customers, competition. So I would say to them, when you're on that team and your boss comes in and says, hey, let's do this, you might say, well, does the customer need that? Should we talk to the customer? What do they really want? Who are we competing with? How can we beat those guys? And the boss would look at you and say, you need to lead this team. So I asked them always, is it okay if I just help you make more money the rest of your life by providing you more opportunities? So anyway, that's where I got to after 15 years writing my book. I thought, I have my own methods, my own methodologies, and I've spent all my life training, developing people. I can write this down,
Got it.
and get a book that will really not be what I did, but help people
Yep.
understand how they can do it for themselves.
Excellent. Love it. By the way, if you want to learn more about Mike Cassidy, you can go to his, buy his book on Amazon, but you can also go to fortressstrategygroup.com, the Profit Entrepreneur. You can also go to Amazon and look up the Profitable Entrepreneur or the profitableentrepreneurbook.com. So a lot of places. That being said, let's dive right into the number one secret to being a profitable entrepreneur. Mike, what is it?
Well, it's really, I guess, my first lesson is don't do this to make money. Have your primary objective be, wait, how can we best satisfy our customers? If you have a mindset of really understanding your customers and what they want to accomplish and how you can sort of insinuate yourself into their business model, and they'll welcome you to do that, if they view you as a trusted advisor and not just someone who's looking for the order, how can you help your customers compete better, make more money? And you really have to create a relationship with them and learn how to do it, but they'll welcome you in, believe me.
Okay, that's pretty simple, and this makes sense, right? Primary objective is the best is what's the primary objective is to best satisfy our customers' desires, right?
Yes.
Identifying a pain point, what don't they want, and then moving them towards what they do want. Be a trusted advisor, compete better, make more money, all of those, whatever those might be. Okay, great. That's number one. That's pretty simple. What is the secret number two to becoming a profitable entrepreneur?
Well, with the secret number one, I want to just spend a moment developing that. I have a three-step process to get that done. And in fact, I even have a registered trademark phrase. It's called "Be different in what matters," and I boil that down to "Be dwim." And to create that relationship with your customers, you're really learning what matters to them. What are they trying to accomplish in their business? And you spend time, and I even have a script of how do you get that done. You don't try to sell your stuff. You try to really learn what matters to them. And in doing that, you're finding out who are they buying from now? Why those guys? What do they love about them? So you learn all the strengths that you have to match from your competitors, and you find gaps that you can then fill. So you know what matters and who they're buying from now, and you learn how to be different from your competition in what matters. And all the while, your team and you're pitching them, you're learning from them. What do they really want? You have an idea, and it might look like, I'm sorry to say, imagine this: your idea for them might look like a computer mouse. But through this process and learning what matters to them, you might find out, well, what they really want is something that looks more like a PowerPoint pointer, let's just say. So you learn how to iterate and really innovate your idea to filling the gaps and really creating the product, and it's including your service, your business model for what they really want. So you learn, what matters and how to be different from them. You're learning all the while how to be profitable because you're pitching these things and you're going to create more value. So you don't have to compete on price. You can really compete on value and show them that, you're going to be a better solution for them. So in the long run, you're really just the better value for them.
Okay, I think I got it here. Let me tell you what you think. So value equals iterate and innovate to the gaps for the needs and desires of your customer.
Well said. Yep.
Okay, this is cool. I like it. So, by the way, we have a saying here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions. It says everything matters, right? And if you ask someone, and I'm curious how you define this to folks. Hey, what matters? And they'll go through what matters, right? And then we add one little thing. Well, what matters to you the most, right? And then we focus like a laser on those top two things because it's the 80-20 principle that if we can solve those top two things, the rest of the domino falls. Yes. or the stuff is irrelevant or takes care of itself. So yeah, I 100% get that. What matters to you the most? Also your spouse, your family, or whoever those things are, your team members, who are the stakeholders. I like that. Who are you buying from now? So you would say, hey, who is your trusted advisors, or who's whatever the thing is that you're selling, or whatever the things that's, or even it's not necessarily a direct competitor, but who are you buying from now? And what do you love about them most? Although if it is direct competitor, that's even greater insight. And then you figure out, well, what don't you love about them the most? You figure out those gaps. and then you say, all right, let's innovate and let's solve that. Is that a fair summary?
It is. And if I may just add a bit to that, when you're asking these questions, and I even script them out, and there's a script in my book, but you will find out things like, you're asking them, well, what do you love about it? So you learn everything you have to match, but you say, well, what could they do better? And you find out, for example, maybe they require to place a purchase order. And you go, well, what would you prefer? Well, we really prefer an online portal where we could just place our order online with no contact. But could it be such that maybe we could check the status on the order? And we go, oh, yes. What if we did that? And then you could even check the stat and then schedule the shipment and choose your deliveries. You see where I'm going with that. You then have, by brainstorming with your customer, you've created a whole new business model, customer interface. And again, you're becoming, as you learn and insinuate yourself into their business model, you're becoming, and here's what I really tried to do with all my customers, become indispensable to them. I would hear from our customers over time, Mike, we can't imagine our company without you guys. And I knew we made it because we were their creative problem solver, we were their trusted advisor, and it helped us expand the scope of our business. Started out as a manufacturing company, and we went from there to a warehouse distribution company, and then before that we got to be their product designer. We'd actually help them design their products at a lower cost. And that all got
Wow.
to be because we earned their respect as their creative problem solver.
I love this. By the way, people know more about Mike Cassidy. You can check out his book, theprofitablentrepreneur.com, theprofitablentrepreneur.com. Okay, great. Let's move on to secret number 2, because secret number 1 was, the best strategy to satisfy your customers. What is secret number 2?
Well, that was learning how to be different. And so in all that, you really are recreating your company. And when you do that in the way that I describe it in the book, this isn't the entrepreneur doing this. This is the entrepreneur with his or her team. And it's an interdisciplinary team. And that's essential because as you're making these discoveries, your team and with each iteration, your money people are calculating cost. Your designers are designing the thing, and so you're really making sure that you can offer when you're done, it's a profitable product. Not only does it satisfy the needs and wants of the customer, but you can make money. And because it's with your team all along, you're going, wait a minute, can we do this? Because you're making a promise to your customer, but you must deliver on that promise. So your team is really helping you craft your business model in such a way that you have all the competencies that are required. And maybe you find you have some if with this last iteration that brings us, we don't have the people or the process for that. And your team will go, well, they'll brainstorm. Well, here's what we can do. So that way, the secret, second part of that secret, once you learn what matters and how to be different, your team is now helping you craft that winning business model that can profitably deliver that product on time to the customer, no questions asked. And so that way, again, indispensability. You are that one for your customer.
Okay, what's the next step? What's secret number 3?
I guess I kind of spilled it. So 1, 2, 3, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And then design all that so you're doing it profitably so everything just flows in. You have created that winning business model that gets it all done right and on time.
Okay, so what are the top 1 or 2 mistakes people make when it comes to implementing these secrets?
Well, again, sometimes, the entrepreneur feels it's incumbent upon him or her to be the brain, to be the one who thinks through and comes up with the solution and makes the decision. And yes, sometimes you have to do that. But it's like with brainstorming, I like to throw out, if people can visualize this, you throw out your idea and it's here. But you do it and so you go, okay, what do you think? And then so, well, then, and their idea is a little better. And so the brainstorming, you're now building a pyramid of ideas that gets you higher than where your idea. And what's the benefit of that? Well, through that brainstorming, now there's shared ideas and joint ownership. It's not the boss's idea. It's our idea. And everyone is invested in how can we make that work? And then everybody understands their part of it. What's their role? What do I bring to this? How do I fit in? And so that's I like to say this. I'm trying to bring people through my book to build a culture of innovation and execution where everyone you find a way to get them keying off uh, the Gallup's idea of strength. You find the right you get the right person in the right role, and there's a virtuous cycle. They're great at their job because they're in the right role, and because they're great at their job, they love it. Oh, and because they love their job, they're great at it. That's the virtuous cycle. And you get that way by building everything with your team, brainstorming, listening to them, sharing ideas, and then you learn, of course, teams, the risk is your teammates, because of the different strengths and the different personalities and whatnot, a lot of your teammates drive each other crazy. And your team comes, oh, this person drives me crazy. And you think, well, that's, yes. And no, you drive them crazy too, because you're very different. And that's what makes this work. If everybody thought alike, the brainstorming would be, I have an idea, and everybody go, okay, let's do it. Well, you see the problem with that.
100%. Okay, this is great and very practical, right? So the top mistakes is the founders get in the way, or they feel like they need to be the guy who comes up with all the ideas, the gal who comes up with all the ideas. And instead of brainstorming and having a collective joint ownership of the idea where there's buy-in, and then second, understanding people's roles and getting them on the right part of the seats to deliver this plan, then you lack innovation, you lack execution, and you lack ultimately momentum is how I'm hearing this, right? But if you can get everything in this in place, you start to build this momentum. Is that a fair summary, Mike?
That's exactly right, and that's kind of what that's really well said. I appreciate that, Brett. I'm going to borrow that from you if that's okay,
Sure, go
because
ahead.
I like to say, that culture of innovation and execution. Well, there's obvious benefits to that if anybody thinks about it, but that's true. Like you said, and I hadn't thought of it that way. I appreciate it. That's really where your momentum comes from because everyone is energized. They're valued, they're respected, they're listened to, and you've now got a really great team. And you're right. That's your phrase earlier. You said rock and roll. I like that. That's how you rock and roll when everybody's playing the same music, the same song, and they're loving it and they're bringing in their parts and so on and so on.
Yeah, Craig Groeschel says it well in his leadership podcast that momentum is more powerful than the sum total of all of our leadership, strategy, and resources combined. And the first time I heard that, Mike, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, like, and you go, yeah, it's true, right? Momentum is more powerful than the sum total of all of our leadership, strategy, resources combined. So the question is, how do you create and sustain momentum? Number one, clear, white hot vision, right? For like where you're going.
Hmm.
Number two, faith and belief that you can get there. It's gonna propel it. Number three, it's gonna be sustained by systems, right? Because we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. I'm curious, how do you best help profitable entrepreneurs build and sustain amazing world-class systems?
Well, again, I like to I bring people through your business model is really it's three things, and it's your product, and then it's your people, and then it's your processes. I don't care if you're making sandwiches or rocket ships. Every business model is those three things. And so, it's incumbent upon the leader to get the right team. To go back to the book Good to Great, get the right people, and you get the right people by really understanding. Well, what are we trying to do? What's the vision, as you just said a moment ago? Where are we wanting to go? So who do I need? And so it's about the competencies, and you bring the right people with the right competencies. And that's a lot of things here. Those are hard skills and soft skills and natural talents. And I bring people through in the book, how do you do that? And then maybe you're starting out right now and you learn these things. You go, man, I really don't have the right people. Well, you can maybe invest in them and make them the right people for you. No, Jack Welch said it once great, and I learned this very early on, because back in the 80s, all these companies were making a lot of the companies that would flip, the leveraged buyouts. So somebody buy them and then they double their profits by firing everybody. And then the new company would come in and they find out, well, they can't grow because they don't have anybody. They don't have anybody. So Jack Welch said you can't cut your way to growth. So I encourage the entrepreneur, don't think about cutting people, retrain them, develop them. They have institutional knowledge, they have value. So you're trying to build a business model, you need the right people with the right skills, and maybe you can create them. And they then will create the right processes for you using the right technologies, because there it is. You have the people, processes, and technologies. That's the business model, and they're all designed for your right product. So
By the way, I think that's key. The people will create the right processes. Just like you said, I think the entrepreneur gets in the way when they say, hey, it's my ideas, right? Versus get the collective ideas. I think that maybe they get in the way if they go, well, it's got to be done in this process or this way, versus like, hey, let your skilled set number of people, your skill set designer people, your skill set marketing people or sales people, like let them create the processes, right? Don't feel like you have to get in the way. Do you agree with that, Mike?
perfect. Well said. Exactly.
Okay, excellent. What's the next secret or what's the next step in this process to becoming a profitable entrepreneur?
Well, let me just, I guess, really, and this might be the capstone, but what I haven't touched on yet is the notion of leadership. And I learned early on because I got leadership roles. I had leadership roles before I really earned, I mean, I earned them because I got things done, but I really didn't understand what's the leader. So, and I was reading all these books that I was reading, like Jack Welch and others, and I was smart enough to say, that's what these people are doing, but I'm not them. I'm not that company. What do I need to know? And I never found this in any book, so I crafted my own. What is leadership? Well, the leadership role is this, and I'll be very brief. It's the person who helps set the vision. And I say helps in a way I'll get to in a minute. The vision is like, folks, this is where I think we can go. And I learned early on to always finish it with, how do you see it? Now I'm inviting shared vision. But I said, this is where so you set the vision, but then now the leader has two duties. They have to guide and equip their team to get it done. So I learned early on I could share a vision and get everybody on board. Oh my God, yeah, let's go. And then we would never do it. And I realized, them wanting to is not the same as can do. So as a leader, I have to guide and equip my team to achieve that vision. So that's where I got to early. Maybe some of them need more development. And you got to be careful not to put someone in a role because they want. You can't promote the best salesperson you have to sales manager and expect success unless that person is equipped to be a manager. So the point I'm making is, you guide and equip them. So maybe you say, yeah, I want to promote you to sales manager. Here's the role. Here's the list of responsibilities. Live with that for 2 weeks. Get back to me and tell me what you're going to be great at and tell me what you're not going to be great at. And let's see if we can get you great at it. So before I put you in that role, we'll help equip you that you can be there. And maybe we'll put you there, but then we'll have you go through seminars or training, or I'll mentor you or whatever it is. But that way I'm going to, as a leader, ensure that you are properly guided and equipped to be great.
Got it. I love that. The primary definition of a leader, one of them is person who helps set the vision and then also invites others to have their voice in the vision. How do they see it? And then you guide and you equip the team to achieve the vision. And then that's rinse, wash, repeat with the team members. Is that a fair summary?
It is. Thank you. And I just finished, to help them advance their their want to into can do. That's what the leader's role is. Make sure everyone can do it.
Can do from want to. Love it. All right, great. We're running out of time. Now we're going to move to the part where we talk about capital gains tax, right? So I'm the founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. So business owners, they build this business, they implement all these things, they 10x, they 100x, and they have this massive exit, and the government wants to just crush them with tax, Mike, right? And they don't have a great entrepreneur flexible solution. I'm curious, in your experience with all the years and the business owners that you've worked with, when it comes to the exit capital gains tax, any creative solutions that you've seen, and then I'll offer mine and see what you think.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will just say, That's outside my area of expertise, and it pains me to say stuff like that, but I'm proud that I can say stuff like that. So I always had trusted advisors like you guiding me along the way. So I was in a good position for me, and we had a nice capital gains because we would make our own machinery. I could go buy a machine for $500,000. My team was such that we buy a used one for 50 and put 100 in it, and at the end we'd have $150,000 doing the work of a $500,000 machine. But the problem was we had something on our books that was 150, but it was worth five. So when the person, like my team, I was able to exit when my team wanted to buy the company. So what I did, in getting good tax advice, I hope this. I'm curious of what your response to this would be. I was a sole owner, even though I had a great team, and I always promised them that when we sold, somehow they'd be treated as owners. So what I would do is every year, and we were very profitable, I would make sure that, uh, you know, after the tax man was paid, I would take out everything I could, leaving enough to make sure that because we were still growing in double digits. So we always had, investments that we had to make, and I never wanted to take on any debt. So I would make sure that I was paying myself beyond my salary. I was taking, after taxes, the capital out. So I had a nice nest egg when I knew that time was going to come. And then the other part for me, and this doesn't work for everybody, but for me, my exit was I looked at those people that helped me build it, and we valued the company. And I said, you've been with me for 14 and 16 years. You have no share in this. So here's the value. Let's say it's $1. Uh, I'm going to sell the company to you for 70 cents. And the accountant said, you can do that. And it won't be a violation because of how we were structured. And I'm sorry, Brett, I can't tell you what that is. But I'll just pass that on too. For any entrepreneurs in the position with me, look at your team. And when it's time for your exit, understand this. Your value is in large part owing to your team. So I even put this in my book. And if you're going to sell the company and you find however you do it, strategic buyer or whatever, you're going to need them in the sales process. You can't sell secretly. You're going to need the team during the due diligence. So think about what value do they have? And I would just say this, me sticking my nose in your business, but reward your team because that's what the company's buying. That's what your buyer is buying. You're gone. Who do they have? Your team. And you want them to be those same people who were on fire. So just you, I'm sorry, I'll just say it straight out. You owe it to them. That's the right thing to do. Make sure that you're taking the first slice of that pie you're getting and you're giving it to them. Brent, was
Awesome,
that
Mike.
okay? I mean, I know I didn't
Oh,
really
it's
answer
fine.
your question, but
It's good. It's your story. It's what
yeah,
you did. That's why it's always okay when you're generous like that and you lead with what you did. I think it's fantastic, and it's a great mindset to reward those who've helped to bless to build the company with you.
yes, sir.
So 100%. And that's awesome. And Paul, also too, if people are exiting a business, real estate, Bitcoin, have multi-million dollars of gains, we have a solution here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions to help you build a capital gains tax exit plan, so you don't have to get crushed with tax. Even if you have team members doing it or partners exiting, you can exit the business, defer your capital gains tax, whatever you're receiving, and then live off an installment payment slowly over time with the compounding of that effect, without having to finance the buyer and going into whatever investments you want to, and having flexibility, liquidity, diversification. We call it the Netflix way of exit planning. It's a lot better than the old 1031 exchange, and it works for businesses, Bitcoin, real estate. Just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, Mike, you ready for the lightning round?
I guess so. But before you say that, can I just
Sure.
tell everybody here? Listen to what Brett just said. If it's not Brett, have a Brett. You need a Brett. And you just heard why you need him just now, so you can make it all work and you can exit profitably. Okay, sorry. Lightning round.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for the plug there and the encouragement. All right, let's go to lightning round. So, knowing what you know now, Mike, if you can go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget to make sure to tell yourself to do?
I guess really invest in the team more. I started off being, look, I'm supposed to know this stuff. I have a degree. It's on me. I got to do it. And I realized, no, that's not the right step. So rely on the team and be comfortable with what you know, be comfortable with what you don't know, and get the shared ownership and vision into it early on, first thing.
Perfect. Question number 2, number 1 leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by.
Well, can I go back to what I just developed for
Sure.
myself, my own thing? Look,
Yeah.
jointly set the vision. Uh, have your idea, of course, but invite your team into it, because I'll guarantee you they'll make it better, and they'll have shared ownership. And then you really have a good understanding of how you can guide and equip them so their want to can become can do.
Perfect. Question number 3, number 1 book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year.
Winning. It's an old book by Jack Welch, but it's really a great book. You just read it, and in his folksy way, he really helps you think about what are the right steps to take your company and win.
Excellent. Question number 4, best way you're using ChatGPT.
Well, I'm really a newbie at that, so I guess I just basically ask it like what is, and that's how I'm using it right now. I just what is strategy, and just see what it is, and it's fun. I kind of like to match myself. I do it to kind of see how smart am I really, and so that's it. And it's funny. I used to think AI was like, oh, it's going to give you that, but I learned really early on that wow, you really have to critically think through every AI solution, because thankfully it ain't us yet.
Got it. Last question. After all your success helping all the people you've helped and bless all the business you've blessed, what's the best way that you stay centered in your values and keep a stewardship mindset as you go and out into the world and help people every day?
Well, like you, I'm a very spiritual person, and I realize that I do nothing on my own. I learned something early on that was like, do you want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. So I always try,
That's
I
good.
always try to understand for me what is God's will in this. So I start there. I want to do things and I pursue them, but every step along, God, please let me know your will. I don't want to
Awesome.
overstep.
Amen and amen. Mike, Cassidy, it's been more than a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to thank you for providing a massive amount of wisdom in just 32 minutes on all of the entrepreneurs listening out there to how to become a profitable entrepreneur. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts of insight and discernment and just helping people be the best that they can be to help their team be the best and ultimately, make a big difference and impact in this world. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you mind one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
The profitablentrepreneur.book.com. That will take you to my a page on my consulting website, so you can find me there. And I hope to create a forum for readers, and then you can also find my book on Amazon.com. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Thank you so much. And also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build to Billions podcast, also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. We're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions so we can give more all of it away to help MVPs. Please take action today with the book that Mike has. And if you have a big exit coming up with massive capital gains taxes, you can also check out my book called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. We have Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank in the book, which is pretty cool. Amazon bestseller book. And so it's called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. And of course, if you have an exit, why don't you just go ahead and schedule a time with one of my team members to walk you through, no cost, no obligation, strategy session, right? Spend 30 minutes to an hour. We can help you have an extra 20 to 50% when you exit all of those gains, defer those taxes, compound your wealth. Just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Appreciate everyone listening and watching, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Bye now.